Meet me in the Valley of Honor. I have a gift for you.
Alright, hello everybody. The ladder just reset and it is now test season 2. So what I'm going to be doing is making a warrior deck and trying to climb the ladder, see how far we can get. I thought I'd start the deck making process by just discussing the different sort of areas that the warrior excels in. So one thing the warrior has is it has the most weapons of any class. It has the war axe, right? The Arcanite Reaper. It's also got Gore Howl. In addition to those, right, you can get a weapon off upgrade, and you can get a weapon off the Arathi Weaponsmith. So I figured we can just make lists of various strategies that you could possibly take with the warrior. So our first warrior is going to be called the Weapon Warrior, and we'll see what we can do with weapons. So we obviously want upgrade, Fire War Axe, Weaponsmith, Reaper. Now I don't have Gore Howl. If I had Gore Howl, I would definitely put it in there. In neutral, you'll see that pirates actually synergize with weapons. So let's throw these pirates in. So this is sort of what you would see as your basic opening for a warrior, a weapon warrior. Yeah. Now, to be honest, this doesn't look really that good. This is sort of a specialized deck list that could probably hurt mages quite a bit, because mages are kind of weak to both charge and weapons, which are kind of like charge. I've tried a deck like this. You know, obviously I have to fill in the last 16 cards, but not too much success. I mean, you could take this and then throw in like those core cards that everybody plays with. You know, like let's see. Probably not a knife juggler, but like, you know, loot hoarder, novice engineer, maybe some iron beaks to deal with, you know, whatever comes out. The harvest golem that everybody plays. Not the Worgen. Shattered Sun Cleric, obviously. Dark Iron Dwarf, Defender of Argus. Yeah, maybe like a Sunwalker. And, you know, Dustingo. You know, something like that. This, probably not the greatest deck. I don't think that there's enough stuff that really works with weapons to make a weapon-heavy deck, or weapon-focused deck, that good. But we'll come back to this. So, let's say done. We got this Lazy Weapon Warrior here. Another thing that warriors do well is Enrage. So, with Enrage, Inner Rage, right? It lets you trigger your Enrage abilities. Whirlwind will also let you trigger your Enrage abilities, but this is a little bit too overkill-y. I mean Rampage, right? Because anybody who is enraged is going to be damaged, so that's going to be giving them that +3/+3, which is really nice. Cruel Taskmaster, very much like an Inner Rage, but just attached to a body. The Berserker, obviously, he doesn't have Enrage, but very similar to Enrage, actually much better than Enrage, to be honest. Warsong Commander is just a really solid card all around. A big thing with Enraged creatures is they're such huge targets that your opponent will often spend quite a bit of cards to get rid of them. So if you can have the Warsong Commander out and, you know, be sure that you get your attack off, that's pretty good. Right, so what do we have that has Enrage? Berserker is an amazing card. You know, turn 2 Berserker, or even turn 1 Berserker with a coin, and then turn 2 Cruel Taskmaster, you're swinging for 5 on turn 2. It's pretty good. Raging Worgen, another really good card. This thing can become monstrous, like with Cruel Taskmaster. Buffing him, and make him a 6/3, or 6/2 rather, with Wind Fury. 12 damage possible. It's really nice. Torn Warrior, not great for its cost. Its enrage is quite large though, +3 attack, and it does have taunt. So I mean, I like to include this in range decks. The question is whether an enraged deck actually is very good. So I sort of used this process. I was playing an enraged deck for a while. See, that's nice with enrage because you can potentially enrage your own guys. I was playing an enraged deck for a while, and then I ended up finding that what I'm really wanting to play is not enrage, even though enrage is good, but rather what I'm calling a pain deck. Usually people call it. They usually call it Pyro Smith, right? Because the main engine is Armor Smith and Wild Pyromancer. And what's kind of funny is that these cards actually don't synergize that well with the standard enrage guys, because they end up just killing them. So we're just going to leave the enrage guy, the enrage deck, for now. And let's talk about making what I call a pain deck. And before we do that, though, just one last thing to say about warriors is they also have this sort of affinity with charge. So they have charge, right? Give a creature charge. They have the Warsong Commander, which will give everybody charge, and they have this Kor'kron Elite that has charge. These cards don't synergize at all, which makes the charge deck not really viable, I think. Like, in a charge deck, you don't need this card because you already have charged creatures. You don't need the Kor'kron Elite with the Warsong Commander because, she's already giving people charge. So I don't think a charge deck is viable at all. So instead, we'll make what I'm calling a pain deck. So a pain deck is a deck that relies on your creatures taking damage to trigger effects. So the Armor Smith and the Pyromancer are the sort of like anchor of the deck. And I forget who made the first Pyro Smith deck, but credit to them because this is a really cool combination. Right, the Pyromancer will trigger to do 1 damage to all minions, while the Armor Smith will trigger off each of those damages to give you an armor. That's going to give you massive amounts of armor. I've gotten up to 30 armor in games before. It's not that difficult. But even better than Pyro Smith is the Acolyte of Pain. This is massive card advantage, right? An Acolyte of Pain can take 3 hits from a Pyromancer, and it'll give you 3 card draw. That's quite beautiful card advantage. Now, what else can we do that's useful, or rather good when it takes damage, right? It's the Frothing Berserker. It's not only when it takes damage, but it's whenever any minion takes damage. So this is even more broad than the Armor Smith trigger. This triggers off any minion taking damage. So this Wild Pyromancer, when it hits, it's going to be doing mad boost to the Frothing Berserker. Easily, you can get like 21 health Frothing Berserkers in games, and I'll explain why it usually gets down to 1 health in a second. The thing with the Pyromancer, though, it's 1 card, or rather 2 cards, in a 30-card deck, so you're not necessarily going to get it all the time. So to supplement that, we add in Whirlwind. Whirlwind is like a one-shot Pyromancer. The only real bad thing with Whirlwind is that it doesn't really combo nicely with the Pyromancer, at least not on its own, because if you Whirlwind with the Pyromancer in play, the Pyromancer will die, because it'll do 1 damage to all creatures, and then the Pyromancer triggers, and it does 1 damage to all creatures. So a good way of getting around that is, where is it? Commanding Shout. So this is a cantrip, right? You draw a card when you cast it, so you don't waste a card. But the ability is your minions can't be reduced below 1 health this turn. That is really, really good, because with this, you can just keep going crazy with the Pyromancer. You can just go on forever with the Pyromancer. One thing to note is that even though the UI displays the Acolyte of Pain taking damage, it's not being reduced below 1, so it doesn't actually trigger the Acolyte of Pain when you're going nuts with Wild Pyromancer and Commanding Shoutout. And that's, sometimes that sucks, but other times it's actually pretty good, because with this deck, you can deck yourself. It's totally possible. Alright, so another card here, Cruel Taskmaster. It gives you 1 damage to a creature, right? So this could be used to pick off enemy creatures that have low health, but it can also be used, for the Armor Smith, or because if you hit the Armor Smith, it's going to be a 3/3, right? That's pretty good. And you're gonna get armor as well. If you hit the Acolyte of Pain, you draw a card. That's good. If you hit the Prodding Berserker, it's gonna boost up and it's gonna trigger its ability. That's good. So another card that's like the where are you? Cruel Taskmaster is of course Enrage. Right? Free to cast, so that combos very nicely with the Pyromancer, because even if you're down to 0 mana, you have the ability to cast the spell. So you do 1 damage, you give +2 to attack. Again, this can be used just like the Cruel Taskmaster to kill enemy minions, weak enemy minions. Okay, so another card that's like the Frothing Berserker is Gurubashi Berserker. So whenever this guy takes damage, he gets +3 attack. That's super nice. It's not actually as good as the Frothing Berserker, because this guy triggers when anybody takes damage. The Berserker just triggers when he takes damage. That's kind of a bit of a problem, because sometimes it's difficult to get damage directed at him in sort of a useful fashion. I mean, we do have Inner Rage, we do have the Pyromancer, of course, and the Taskmaster to deal damage to him, so overall it's fairly solid. It's also a higher mana cost card. You'll see we mainly have lower mana cost cards, so that the curve is a little bit nicer with this guy in here. Alright, so let's just get rid of that. Another card that combos well with this concept, of course, is Battle Rage. Draw a card for each damaged friendly character. So you're going to be in situations where all your characters are damaged, yourself and your minions. This can be really efficient. Like if you think of Arcane Intellect is 3 mana to draw 2 cards. It's not going to be hard to, match that and beat it quite handily with Battle Rage. So it's kind of funny that the Warrior is better card draw than the Mage, but that's the way it goes. Alright. What else synergizes? Well, Rampage, right? Rampage is nice, because you're going to have lots of damage minions, and you can be +3/+3 in them. This is nice on Pyromancers, as well as Acolytes of Pain, when you don't have access to a Commanding Shout, because it'll extend the amount of time that you can use their ability. Right, very nice on an Acolyte of Pain, makes it a 4/6. Whenever it takes damage, you draw a card. That's a lot of card draw potential there. Now, 8 cards left. Is there anything missing from my original version of this deck? That's sort of like core. Let's see. So, I mean, there's obviously some control stuff that you can do. Executes are nice. Weapons are actually kind of nice as well. Insofar as that means you're going to be swinging at enemy minions, and taking damage, which will let you have lower health for the purposes of Battle Rage, as well as you can armor up on top of your damaged character, which is really nice. Oh, one thing I should say is, some people have played this deck as a hey, what's it called? I thought it was Molten Giant. Mountain Giant? Oh, because I'm not in crafting mode, that's why, okay. Right, so Molten Giant is a really popular deck right now. It's a one-turn kill deck, because you basically let yourself get damaged a lot, and then you just throw the Molten Giant down and swing. We could do something similar with the Mountain Giant in this deck, because we're going to have a lot of cards in our hand if we can get the Commanding Shout out. So potentially, you could, not Commanding Shout, rather, Battle Rage. So you could, Battle Rage into a Giant, but I'm going to leave that right now, because I don't like playing this sort of, net deck. Okay. So let's get out of crafting mode. What else do we want? So, I like Slam as control. You can slam your own guys, so you could slam your Acolyte of Pain, which will trigger a draw, and then you'll get the draw from the cantrip. That's, kind of a desperate move, but it's doable, right? You can also slam your enemies, right, in order to just, exercise board control. That leaves us with 6 cards. The Weaponsmith. The reason I'm putting this in here is because it gives you the weapon. So, like I said before, weapons are nice because it allows you to damage yourself if you need to. But this is just such a solid card overall. I mean, 2/2 weapon and a 3/3 body for 4. That's pretty good. We could put the commander in. She has some nice durability, right? 'Cause she's got 3 health, which is going to combo well with the fact that we're damaging ourselves. But then there's also the option of charge. Now, charge is nice because it's a free spell, and your opponent doesn't necessarily see it coming, because charge I don't see it played that much in the current meta. So what you could do is throw in the charge onto a crazy combo where you're comboing out with your Frothing Berserker or your Gorobashi Berserker, and you end up with just a massive creature. That's really nice. So I think we're going to go with 2 charges. Some people don't like Execute. I do, especially in this deck, because everybody's going to be damaged, but I think that we should be mainly relying upon our combo to go up. So we're gonna stay off of Execute for now. The other card that we can go for might be a little bit surprising, but the Darkscale Healer. Now, the reason she's quite good is because she restores 2 health to all friendly characters, and your characters are going to be taking damage all the time. And this wouldn't work in an Enrage deck, because in an Enrage deck, she would actually be canceling out our Enrage. In this deck, she can heal up, things like the Frothing Berserker, the Gorobashi Berserker, back up to their health, the Acolyte of Pain, even the Wild Pyromancer potentially, back up to their maximum health without any downside. That's really, really good. So this is similar to the deck that I was playing prior to the reset. I wasn't running Charge. I'm not sure what I was running in place of Charge, because I deleted all my decks before making this video. Might have been, I think it was Cleave, something like Cleave, or Execute maybe. I knew I was running one version with Execute and one without, but that's neither here nor there. So this is the deck. I actually like calling it Master of Pain. Whoops, not PN, Master of Pain. Alright, so this is the deck we're going to be trying to rank up in. I'm going to be just doing a series of matches on the ladder, posting them up after this video, so it's going to be another video. We might do some tweaks in between, and we'll see where this thing goes. Alright, so just after doing that deck building, I went into a game on ladder, and my rank was still there. So I exited out, looked on the forums, and apparently during the extra long maintenance time, that was because there was some kind of an issue with resetting the ladder. So as it stands, the ladder's not reset. It's still test season 1. So for the time being, I'm just going to delay doing any videos of doing the ladder climbing, because that's the whole point of the series. Alright, so stay tuned for the next episode whenever it happens.
Hey!
Save the whale!
Not affiliated with Save the Whales.